They didn't come with diplomacy. The Drokar never did. They arrived the way they always did. Massive obsidian ships blotting out the stars. Atmospheric burns turning our clouds to ash. No warning, no broadcast, no negotiation. Just pressure. Fear. They fed on it. Not literally, not like some mind-hungry hive, but in strategy, in doctrine, in purpose. Fear was their weapon, their test, their tool. And every world before us had failed it. Hundreds of civilizations, some 1,000 years, older than ours, collapsed before the Drokar ever fired a shot. They surrendered before the landing gears touched dirt. Their leaders knelt, their cities powered down. Their people accepted collars made of light and silence. Why fight, they thought. Why die, they whispered. The Drokar didn't torture, didn't enslave. They assimilated, but only those who submitted. Everyone else vanished. We found the remains of the Hiva once, a crystalline species from the Arden Rim. Their cities were whole, their databanks untouched, but their people gone. No corpses, no resistance logs, just the faintest trace of radiation, and a note etched in their memory stone. They asked us if we feared. We answered yes. That was their mistake. That wouldn't be ours, because when the Drokar came for Earth, we didn't ask how to survive. We asked how to make them bleed. The first time I saw their ships, I was just outside Buenos Aires, in what used to be an agricultural testing zone. After the famines, it became a drone field, empty land filled with prototype war gear the world had hoped to never need again. Guess what? We needed it. The first ship appeared above the Indian Ocean, then another above the Atlantic, then one over the poles. Triangulated, coordinated, like they were closing a hand around a beating heart. Our heart global net traffic dropped by 68% in the first 3 minutes. Then came the signal. It didn't translate, not in the traditional sense. It wasn't language. It was emotion, a psychic burst strong enough to drop every unshielded mind into the fetal position. So did most of my unit. But I stood, because I'd been trained for this. I'm part of Reclaimer Unit 9, a ghost division that officially doesn't exist. Formed from black budget nations after the Second Mars War. We don't wear flags. We don't wear names. We wear steel nerves. My squad's name was WOL. Weapons Oriented Liberation Force. It sounded corny, but when the sky breaks and your spine tells you to crawl, corny might save your life. We were deployed within 30 minutes. Our mission wasn't defense, it was provocation, because fear was the Drokar's lever, and we were going to snap it. We launched from Brazil's shadow port. No lights, just a course. Intercept the atmospheric descender approaching Africa. It looked like a dagger made of oil and obsidian, 1 kilometer long, smooth, silent, but it wasn't ready for what we had. We'd built our answer in the dark deep in-Earth's crust, where no orbital scan could see. A weapon made of sonic defiance, resonance tech, and hardwired rage. The pulse engine. It didn't shoot bullets. It didn't launch nukes. It screamed. Not sound, not radio, something deeper, human pain, human defiance, human spite, filtered through frequency harmonics that hit Drokar neural clusters like a sledgehammer made of thunder and betrayal. We unleashed it, and the ship staggered. I don't mean drifted, I mean its whole form twisted in the sky like it had been punched by God. Black veins of energy cracked its hull. Whatever it used for gravity blinked and it fell straight into the Sahara. The shock wave leveled 3 cities. We didn't cheer because we knew what would come next, and we were right. The Drokar descended for the first time in known galactic history. They deployed infantry. I saw one up close near the ruins of Fez, 8 feet tall, armor like liquid bone, no eyes, no mouth. Just a single ridge across its face that pulsed with red light dot. It moved without sound, but when it saw me, when It locked on to MIT, sent a message, not words. A sensation like drowning in your own blood, like watching your family burn from behind. Glassed out, it wanted me to break. I smiled and lit its face on fire. Thermal mines, acid scatter, shock knives, none of it should have worked. But we weren't fighting physics, we were fighting psychology. They expected collapse, we gave them madness. My whole unit was trained to weaponize unpredictability, laugh when wounded, charge when outnumbered, turn fear into confusion, and confusion into victory. The Drokar didn't understand. They were bred for dominance, but not for chaos. We didn't win the first battle, not in the traditional sense, but we didn't kneel, we survived, and in doing so, we cracked something. Their second wave took twice as long to arrive. Their ships began to scan before descending. They were hesitating, and on that day, as I stood over the burning corpse of a Drokar enforcer, I realized something no alien empire had ever understood. Humans don't survive in spite of fear. We survive through it. We make it our forge, our fuel, and when you come looking to rule with fear, you better pray we don't laugh in your face, because that's when you lose. They don't understand retreat. The Drokar weren't made for it. Every genetic marker in their kind is carved for domination, precision, control. Fear is their starting point, and once that fails, they don't back away, they escalate. After we dropped their descender into the Sahara, we thought we'd earned breathing room. We were wrong. They returned 3 nights later. No warning, no formation, just fire. They cracked the sky. A vertical line of molten white split the stratosphere above Cairo, and within it came a Spica ship, a weapon, a living being. We didn't know. It fell like a sword from the gods and drove straight into the Earth's crust. We felt it all the way in South America. Tectonic plates screamed. Ocean levels rippled. And then the sky turned red. Our intel boys called it a neurofracture device. We called it the Shiver. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a virus for emotion. A psychic wave that bled across entire continents, triggering primal fear responses in anything with a nervous system. Dogs howled. Birds dropped from the sky. Entire battalions collapsed without a shot fired. But not us, not Wolf, because we weren't built to resist fear. We were built to eat it. Cora was the first to stand. She'd soaked her synapses in neural dampeners for months. Said it was like replacing your soul with barbed wire. She grinned as the Shiver hit. Feels like ice cream. She muttered, slapping my helmet. She wasn't lying. It hurt, God. It hurt. Like something was burrowing into your skull and replaying every second of weakness you ever lived. But we'd trained for this. Memorized fake memories. Designed counter-fears, fractals of imaginary trauma we could override. Mine was my sister, burning. But that wasn't real. I'd never had a sister, the real me. I held the pain in one hand and fed it to the rage in the other. We advanced through the haze like ghosts on fire. The Drokar didn't expect that. Their forces had moved in, behind the Shiver, thinking we'd be broken before they landed. They dropped into Jakarta, Lagos, and Vancouver clean. Clinical strikes meant to mop up what was left of human command. They found kill zones. We had rigged our cities with falsified heat signatures, pop-up command decoys, and auto-deploy ambush. Drones coded with only one rule: attack anything that lands tall, smooth, and slow. The kill ratios were brutal, but it wasn't a victory. It was a message. They weren't the only ones who knew how to terrify. We captured one, ALIVE, a Drokar enforcer. Its armor scorched, one leg blown off at the knee, its mouthless face pulsing erratically. We caged it in a resonance cage built to mess with their internal feedback loops. I asked it a question, not in Drokar, just English. Are you scared? It didn't answer, obviously, but its eyes, those twin black voids, flickered. That was all I needed. We sent the footage out. Pirate cast it through the old civilian satellites. Over every surviving feed tower, across every broken colony. They bleed, they scream, they fall. This is not a god. It's just another empire, and we are not afraid. They tried to jam it, but it was too late. It spread. Something cracked in the Drokar ranks. We started seeing hesitation. Infantry holding position too long. Fire patterns pausing mid-burst. Officers scanning battlefields twice. They didn't understand what was happening, but we did. For the first time in their history, they were getting back what they dished out. Fear, raw, unfiltered, human-born. Then came the pivot. They stopped sending machines. They sent envoys. One landed in Norway, another in Kenya. The third dropped into New York's crater zone and stood, alone, in the ruins of Grand Central Station. A drone camera captured it, raising both arms. Surrender. No projection. Its voice echoed, not in sound, but in thought. You are flawed, wild, inconsistent. You should not endure. And then we offered transcendence, harmony, evolution. Accept unity, and you will be spared. The ultimatum, it wasn't new. Other races had accepted it before. Uploading into Drokar systems, losing bodies, gaining control. But Earth, we replied with a single missile, straight into its chest. No ceremony, just war. We thought that would be the end of the conversation. But it wasn't, because that night, as I lay awake in the bunker beneath broken Tokyo, I saw something that chilled me more than the shiver ever could. It was a video encoded raw, a Drokar soldier, crying no tears, no sobs, but rocking shaking fingers clenched against its skull, like it was trying to hold in something emotion. They weren't ready for this. They had conquered every world that feared them, but Earth. We weren't scared, we were furious. And fury is harder to kill than fear. They stopped trying to break us from the outside now. They wanted in. After the shiver failed and the envoys were annihilated, the Drokar did what no one expected. They went quiet. No strikes, no landers, no pressure signals. For 3 days, the sky didn't glow. The atmosphere didn't hum. Even our threat monitors dropped to pre-contact levels. We should have known better. Silence isn't peace. It's planning, and they weren't done. They were evolving. The first anomaly showed up in northern India remote village that had barely survived the war's early stages. We got a scrambled call from a ham radio operator named Raji, said a man had returned from the dead, that he remembered everyone's name, but forgot his own. We thought it was a radiation ghost. Trauma echo from one of the orbital strikes. Until we got the footage, he looked human, pale, thin, dusty brown eyes, spoke flawless Hindi, smiled when he saw children, ate a full meal. But there was something off. Smooth. Patient. Perfect. Cora and I took a recon team and dropped in by night. What we found made my skin crawl. The man had no fingerprints. His blood was silver, and when one of the villagers asked him who he was, he looked directly at our drone camera and said, "I am what you love most. I am your mirror. I am your relief." Then he laughed, but it wasn't human. It tried to be, but it was half a second too late. Like an actor who memorized the lines, but not the timing. We called it what it was, a mimic. The Drokar had studied us long enough. Now they were building copies, not infiltration units, not androids, replicas, and not of leaders or generals, of nobodies, the forgotten, the lonely, the ones we wouldn't question. We started seeing more of them in relief camps, in bunkers, on broken highways. People returning from the ruins, claiming they'd survived the early waves, grateful, humble, eager to help, all wrong. They smiled too much, slept too little, flinched at silence, but not at gunfire. One of them cried when a child offered him a toy, then stabbed the child the second she turned away. We burned that village to the ground. Not because of the loss, but because one of the mimics begged with human eyes, human voice, and a Drokar message. You don't deserve your pain. They thought that was mercy. We thought that was war. Our counter-program was brutal. Facial biometric gates at every outpost, random blood tests, psych checks. And if you failed, once you burned, we lost innocent people. Probably, but we didn't stop. Because the Drokar weren't just copying us. They were trying to understand us. They'd conquered species through fear. They'd failed with force. Now they thought mimicry would give them control. They didn't realize. Humanity doesn't trust reflections. We trust scars. And when we caught a mimic in an underground refugee line in Peru, we didn't shoot it. We interrogated it hard. It leaked bioluminescent fluid, spoke in half-mangled English, and screamed whenever we said certain words. Not torture words, names, specifically, people it had copied. I asked why them? It answered with 6 words, because you don't fear yourselves enough. That's when I understood. They thought fear was external, monsters, ships, weapons, but humans. Our worst fear is ourselves, and the Drokar had just invited themselves inside. Our deepest hell. Cora came to me with a theory. They're trying to become what breaks us. I nodded. But they got it backwards. I said, why? Because we don't break. We break things. We developed a new protocol that week. We called it reflection burn. Any person who couldn't pass 12 simultaneous identity audits, 6 biometric loops, and answer 1 childhood memory no Drokar could ever fake was considered compromised. Some said it was fascist, paranoid. I called it necessary. We stopped 113 mimics in 9 days, but the last one didn't scream when we exposed it. It just looked at us and whispered, "You're becoming us." And that scared me more than anything. Because what if that was the plan all along? Not to beat us, but to make us beat ourselves. They wanted to become us. They failed. Because they only copied the outside. Smiles, speech, skin. But fear doesn't live in the body. It lives in the gut, in the history, in the blood and rust and screams of 1,000 years. You can't copy that. But you can weaponize it. And that's what we did. We called it Project Echo. While the world watched for Drokar landers, envoys and mimics, a few of us went dark, deep black. No comms, no trace. We disappeared into what was left of the Arctic vaults, the abandoned lunar colonies, and the memory cores of burned-out city servers. What we built wasn't an army. It was a story, a ghost, a rumor, an idea so terrifying it couldn't be questioned, only feared. We designed a mimic. One of us, a human. But not just any human. We gave it rage, scars, hollow eyes, a smile that came only when killing. We loaded it with every broken trait we'd ever seen in war and then stripped out empathy, hesitation, mercy. We called it ruin. Ruin. Didn't speak, it acted. It didn't need ships or fleets. Just one suit, one drop point, one purpose. Infiltrate their systems. Show them what fear really feels like. We launched it on a dead trajectory, an old Martian mining rail converted into a stealth rail. It took 6 hours to reach their orbital relay station above Jupiter's shadow line. Their sentries didn't detect it. It landed silent, and within 22 minutes, the Drokar relay stopped transmitting. When they sent a recon pod to investigate, they found their soldiers ripped apart, not by weapons, but hands, crushed, torn, dismembered. Their internal logs were corrupted except one file, a looped recording from the final Drokar technician's neural log. It wore our face, but it was screaming. That scream? It was sampled from actual Earth war footage, 20th century soldiers, charging trenches under chemical fire. Real, ancient, human. That's what broke them. Not the gore, not the infiltration, but the fact that we had chosen to become something worse than them. The Drokar had always fed on fear. Now they were choking on it. It didn't stop there. Ruin appeared again on their outposts along the Venusian arc belt, on their seed colonies at Alpha Proxima. In their databanks, we made him a myth. We coded his signature into dead satellites, into music, into dreams. Entire Drokar squads began refusing deployment to Earth space. Commanders collapsed murmuring the same word in static-choked growls. Ruin, ruin. But it wasn't just one unit anymore. We had copycatted our own mimic. Replicas of Ruin were spreading, led by human saboteurs, AI ghosts, deep-faked nightmares. We used their own tactics and twisted them into knives. Cora said it best. They wanted to show us what we're afraid of. She loaded a fresh mag into her rifle. We just reminded them we already know. By the third week, their fleets began withdrawing from Earth orbit, not retreating, avoiding. The fear was working. Too well, maybe, because they made one last move. They sent a message. Not through ships, not through dreams, but directly to me. How? I don't know. But I felt it behind my eyes, like an itch in my soul. You carry the scream. You are the anchor. Your species cannot win. You will only unmake yourselves. I replied with one thought. Good. Because unmaking ourselves wasn't the threat, it was the plan. They'd conquered every world that feared them. We weren't afraid. We became the thing they should fear, and we were just getting started. Asterisk. They always thought fear was a wall, impenetrable, predictable, fundamental, but we showed them. Fear is just a doorway, and we kicked it off the hinges. The Drokar didn't flee. That's not how they operate. They consolidated their entire command. Network retreated to one place, Threxel 9. We'd never been there. No species had. It wasn't on any map, any trade route, any shared archive. They thought it was safe. But nothing's safe once Earth draws blood. We found it using something they never expected. A mimic we captured, and broke. His name or designation was Irthel. We never tortured him, just talked, showed him footage, played him audio of his own people begging on Earth's soil. He cracked, said he wanted to understand, so we gave him access to our history: wars, rebellions, genocide, resistance, sacrifice, rage. When he saw our planetary archive of mass graves and war memorials, he trembled. He whispered, "You endure through what should destroy you. You wear suffering like armor. No one survives this way." I leaned forward and said, "We don't survive. We win." And Irithel told us where to strike. Threxel 9 was hollowed out, built inside a planet-sized monolith. No sun, artificial. Gravity, completely isolated. It wasn't just a command center. It was a vault. Their history, their leaders, their fear engines, the psychic resonance towers that amplified their conquests, kept other species cowed across light years. We knew what we had to do, and we weren't going in loud. We were going in as ghosts. 12 of us. My squad. WOLF9. Survivors, lunatics, fanatics, and one extra car who couldn't stop shaking. We called it Operation Last Scream. We dropped in during a system cycle shutdown when the towers were resetting harmonics. We threaded an old probe tunnel, breached a ventilation shaft, and made it inside their pulse core, the heart of the heart world. And it was beautiful. A chamber of spinning crystal matrices, each one pulsing with captured fear, voices echoing through fractal light, screams, sobs, shivers, all catalogued, stored, and looped into power. This is what they fed on, the agony of 1,000 civilizations. We didn't plant explosives. We did something worse. We uploaded Ruin, the mimic we'd built, the virus, the rage. We plugged his core into their master link, and in 60 seconds, their entire psychic lattice, every conduit, every fear engine, every amplification thread began to scream, not with terror, with madness. Ruin wasn't designed to control. He was designed to collapse. One by one, their towers flickered, wobbled, shattered across the Drokar Empire. Soldiers began hearing whispers in their own minds. You were never gods. You are prey now. We are already inside. Some clawed their own heads open. Others fell to their knees. Entire fleets powered down and refused to respond. And in the core, as the chamber cracked and bled light, Iarthel stood trembling. I don't want to die like them, he said. You won't? I told him. Then, how will I die? I looked him in the eye. You'll live with it. He nodded and walked into the fire. He earned it. We barely made it. Out, the planet collapsed within the hour. The last broadcast from Threxel 9 wasn't coordinates, or pleas for peace. It was one phrase, repeated in every known language. Earth cannot be ruled. And then silence. True silence. No psychic pressure. No mimic incursions. No ships. Just ... Peace. Earned the only way. We know how. With scars. They came expecting fear. They left understanding. Fury. And now, Earth isn't just a planet. It's a warning.